Hello students, here is the continuation of our previous video lesson on Unit 4, Heredity and Environment. Today, we will discuss on different points like significance of heredity and environment, controversy between heredity and environment, synthesis between heredity and environment, and educational implications of heredity and environment. So if you have a textbook, you can turn the page number from 44 to 47. Significance of heredity and environment. Heredity and environment have equal significance in child's development, as food and water are equally important for a person. Heredity and environment are indispensable for growth and development of an individual. Both are indispensable, both are very important. Both play a significant role for development of an individual. Heredity and environment both are significant factors that the development of a personality. So if heredity is a space, environment is the structure. If heredity is the seed, environment is the soil. If heredity is the soul, environment is the body. We cannot separate the soul from body in a living human being, so cannot separate the heredity from environment. So both are equally important and both are very much in need for development of an individual. So if we miss out one factor, that is, the development may not be up to the expectation. So that means like both are equally signified for a child's development. These two forces, heredity and environment, are not opposed to each other. In fact, they are complementary, like seed and soil, shift and current, etc. Both of these forces are required for the same purpose, that is molding and shaping of a child. The heredity is the raw material out of which the object is to be prepared. And environment is the technique and other raw material for the manufacture. And heredity is the provider of all the raw materials, whereas environment is responsibility to produce a fine object from the provided raw materials. Woodward states that the relationship between heredity and environment is more like the product of multiplication than of addition. It means that the relationship between heredity and environment has greater influences on child's development, and this relationship maximizes optimum development of a child. According to Divinand, the human organism's body and mind is a center of creative energy that uses endowments and environment as its working material. So element receives from nature and nurture, so do not make it what it becomes. Divinand says that environment is nothing but a process under suitable conditions to change the shape of raw materials, just like a potter does while making toys out of mud. And human behavior is the product of heredity and environment. Hence, both are equally important. Second point, controversy between heredity and environment. Heredity versus environment. The nativist account of development would argue that the processes in question are innate. That is, they are specified by organisms' genes. Whereas the embracist or the environmentalist perspective would argue that those processes are acquired in interactions with the environment. These two are two different different thinkers, which incline which support their which support a different okay, anyway, okay. So a group of thinkers who are in favor of environment emphasize more on the environment. Likewise, like a group of thinkers who are inclined towards the heredity, they emphasize more on the heredity rather than environment. A very serious controversy exists in the field of education, that is whether heredity or environment is more important in the process of developing an individual. The heredity group of thinkers strongly argued that what an individual is solely determined by his heredity. What an individual is what we inherited from our ancestors. And heredity is the sole determinant. There is nothing that environment can do on human beings. There is no role played by environment on human. Heredity is the sole determinant. Heredity is the sole responsible for human development. According to the exponent of heredity, the inborn nature, what a child carries genes from ancestors through parents can determine the development of an individual. Their opinion is that what we carried the genes which we carried from our ancestors, that is the responsibility for development of our personalities or development of our physique. The other groups, environmentalists, argue that the environmental conditions are sole determinant. They are they emphasize on environmental influences rather than heredity. So these groups argue that environmental conditions are sole determining factors of an individual's physical and psychological growth. They are of the opinion that no man is born evil or good. A good person is because so he interact or he associate with a good group of community or group of society. Hence, the environment makes a person good. Or on contrary to that, if a person have a close associate with the criminals or a bad person or a loose characters, that persons will assimilate the negative personalities from his friend or from his associate, that he became a illegal or should be a criminals or maybe a bad persons. So their opponent, opinion is that environment is the sole determinant. So likewise, like a thief or a scholar is because of the circumstances that the society provides him with. That a person become a thief, it is because of the circumstances that he was provided by the society. On the other hand, a child become a scholar or maybe a good person or maybe a bureaucrat. It is because of like the circumstances that he encountered that provided a good opportunity for him to flourish his abilities. So John Luke was of the opinion that at birth, a child's mind is like a tabula rasa, means a clean slate, pure, unpolluted. So once a child was born, he was so pure and innocent, but after interacting with the environment, everything's are written in the minds of a child. Whether it may be a negative development or it may be a positive one. So the wide differences that we came across among different individuals are all due to the differences in environment. Different environments makes a person's or a people's difference among. The significance issues in developmental psychology is the relationship between innateness and environmental influence in regard to any particular aspects of development. This is often referred to heredity versus environment. So on account of the development process of an individual is specified on innate, that is inborn, and that is an organism's genes. Whereas the empiricist perspective was confined on acquired in interaction with the environment. A debate between the environment and heredity on language acquisitions. Certain properties of human language are specified genetically or can be acquired through learning. Empiricist proponent that the language inputs provides the necessary information required for learning the structure of language, and that infants acquired language through a process of statically learning. This means they are on the opinion that they're on the opinion that language can be acquired through general learning or through learning method. That also applied to other aspects of development, such as perceptual learning. So the environmentalist exponent says that language is developed only through learning. The nativist argues that the input from language for infants is too improvised and children to acquire the structure of learning. So in the opinion of the nativist, or I should say like the heredity, that the child inherited language through genes and the circumstances improvise the language structure on it. So What their opinion is that a child inherited the language itself. What he acquired is only the structure of language. Okay, linguist Noam Chomsky asserts that there is a universal grammar that applies for all human language and is pre-specified. According to Chomsky, there is a special cognitive module suited for learning language, often called it the language acquisition device. Through that, the child learned language. Synthesis between heredity and environment. So no man can deny the importance of both the factors. Both heredity and environment are have definite bearing in the shaping of children. Every living organisms, whether it may be a plants or animals or a man, is not exclusively the product of either heredity or environment. The problem of nature and nurture defies satisfactory solutions. According to McLever, every phenomenon of life is the product of both, that is heredity and environment. Each is as necessary to the result as the other. Neither can never be eliminated nor can be isolated. Thus, no society is a product of environment alone. For man, inherited physical heritage. So, according to McLever, that we should not, we can't eliminate it either heredity or environment, or cannot be isolated. So both are equally important, both are equally necessary for any kind of growth and development. Because heredity provides the good genes or provide the genes, whereas the environment have a technique to shape and mold the traits. Okay, for example, if a farmer sow a seeds which are superior, sow a superior seeds in an inferior land, so the vegetables may not be healthy or may not be much, may not be up to the expectation. Even he saw the best seeds. Likewise, if a seed was inferior and the land was very fertile, the plants or sorry, vegetables may grow, but not to the expectations, because the seeds of the plants are inferior. So likewise, both are equally important and equally responsible for producing fine or refined personalities. Again, there is a continual interactions between heredity and environment, and both are inseparable. So, these two forces are constantly interacting to each other while determining child's development. Both have been operative to produce every particular situation since time immemorial. Both the factors have their own importance in personality development of individuals. Aldenberg states that each trait required both heredity and environment for its development. So a man, according to him, a man owes his being to both nature and nurture. So in the process of molding an individual, both the forces go shoulder to shoulder, and both are dependent to each other. For example, the best music teacher with the most sophisticated musical instruments teaches music. But if the child doesn't have the ability or the gift, he may not grow up to the expectations as a musician. So if likewise, like if a teacher or a coach, for example, a football coach, providing the best opportunity and providing the best opportunity, best facilities, all kinds of facilities are provided to the and individuals. But if a child or if an individual doesn't possess a skill of playing any games, so he may not be developed up to the expectation. Means like both heredity and environment are indispensable for optimum development or to make a person perfection. Okay, Landis and Landis. Heredity gives us the capacities to be developed, but opportunity for the development of these capacities must come from the environment. According to Landis and Landis, heredity is responsible for all the inborn traits, whereas environment is responsible for the growth and development of these traits. Landis and Landis says heredity gives us the capacities to be developed. Means like we inherited the best genes, the best traits, but to develop our innate, to develop our inborn abilities, we require a good or favorable environment. Okay, the last, so therefore, heredity and environment can be treated as complementary and interactive forces. Our simple experiences in life tells us that both favorable inherited endowments and external circumstances are inevitable for proper growth and development of an individual. Educational implications of heredity and environment. The knowledge of heredity and environment has a great influence on human development because development pattern of the children is determined by both heredity and environment. As both are prime importance in the field of education, if, for example, if a teacher inclined towards heredity alone, the fate of the students is already sealed. That means there is no chance for external forces to be intervened. There's no chance for environment to mold and shape an individual. If the teacher emphasizes more on heredity, likewise, if the teacher emphasizes more on environment than heredity, genetic traits may not be flourished up to the expectation. So that means like, the teacher should play an important role to give a proper education to the child to a child by giving a due importance of both heredity and environment. The knowledge of the mechanisms of heredity and and the influence of environment is of great importance for teacher, and it helps the teachers in various ways. The knowledge of heredity and environment helps the teachers to know the varying needs and abilities of the children. Every individual's needs and abilities are different from each other. Therefore, the knowledge of heredity helps the teachers to identify the different needs and abilities of the children. Second point, it helps to provide proper guidance to his children in the field of educational, vocational, and personal fields. A teacher can identify the abilities of the children by studying the heredity and environment of the child. So this knowledge helps to provide the proper guidance to his children in any field. Look, some might be very bright in academic knowledge, whereas some might be in skills development, or some might be in other field. So by knowing the background of the child, and that is heredity and environment, a teacher can give a proper guidance to suit the child. Third point, it helps the teachers to classify the students as gifted, normal, or slow learner, and arrange different types of education for them. So the knowledge of heredity and environments, it helps the teachers to identify and classify between the different kinds or different types of students: gifted, normal, and slow learners, and arrange in such a way that different types of students can easily accommodate or can cope up with the teaching process. Because if the flow of classrooms or flow of teaching is according to the pace of slow learners, it may not be benefited for gifted and normal students, because they don't have a passion to wait the slow learners to come to their point. On contrary to that, if the teaching flow or pace is according to the needs of the gifted child or excellent or bright students, normal and especially the slow learners will not be benefited, because their capabilities are very slow, and they don't have a potential to equalize with the bright students. So therefore, this knowledge can help the teachers to classify the students as gifted, normal, and slow learners, and arrange different types of education for them. Point number 4, it helps the teachers to provide better learning environment in the school. And classroom environment is very important. Well, in the field of, the process of teaching and learning process, because if the classroom environment or school environment is not a conducive, is not a favorable for learning, there will be a lot of disturbances towards the students, and while there is a disturbance, the teaching and learning process will not be much effective, or may not be much beneficial. Therefore, the knowledge of heredity and environments helps the teachers to provide better learning environment in the schools. Point number 5. It helps the teacher to know the principle of individual differences and arrange the educational experience accordingly. Knowledge of heredity and environments helps teachers to identify the principles of individual differences every individuals are a unique creator. So some might be gifted in music, some might be gifted in other curricular activities, some might be gifted in like in educations or so on. So this knowledge helps to know about individual differences. And therefore the teachers can easily arrange their educational experiences according to the needs and wants of different types of children. 107, it helps the teachers to study the behavior of the children under different situations. So knowledge of heredity and environments, it provides an opportunity for teachers to study the behaviors of the students in the different situations. So through this they can identify the real personality of the children. 107, it helps the teachers to organize various curricular and co-curricular programs for the best benefit of the children. So heredity and environments help the teachers to organize different kinds of events and activities. So that all the students, all the different kinds of students, or different types of students will be benefited. Some might be, very fond of singing. Some might be fond of like dancing. Some might be, in fine art. Some might be in some activities, games and sports. So this knowledge helps the teachers to organize various co-curricular activities and curricular activities programs for the best benefit for the children. Well, that's the end. We will continue in our next video. Thank you.